Hello and welcome to ALD No Limits. I'm Christy.
And I'm Ken. Our guest this episode is the Patten family. Welcome to ALD No Limits.
Hi.
Hello. Yay! We're thrilled to have you here. And for the first time, we have 3 people on the screen telling us their story. So, welcome, and could you tell us a little bit about yourselves and where you're from?
Sure, we're a family of 4 in New Hampshire, right along the seacoast. And we have Rowan here with us, who's 15. He's our youngest boy. We also have an older boy who's 18 months to the day, older than Rowan. He's 16 now. And we, as a family, let's see, we're very busy all the time with lots of things, trying to have as much fun as we can traveling while both operating businesses. And that's sort of our challenge. We come home from vacation sometimes and need a vacation from our vacation because we've been so busy doing things. We're very active, and we're just trying to, we spend a lot of time as a family together.
Nice. I love that. So could you share with us a little bit about, how you learned about ALD? When did you learn about ALD and how did that occur?
Do you want to take that, or I can?
Okay.
So ALD for us started in, really the official start would have been in November of 2023. Rowan was hospitalized for just basically flu-like symptoms. And we were very fortunate this time around because someone in the emergency room started to detect some symptoms that we'd never seen before. And over the years, as Rowan was growing up, he would get the flu. He would talk about his back aching, and we'd bring him in. He'd get fluids, and we'd be released, and we'd just move on with life. And we didn't know at the time that these were probably fairly minor adrenal crises. And this November of 2023, someone had the good sense to put together that this little boy that he was seeing was very, very tan in the middle of the winter, and also raised a very big red flag about his extremely low sodium levels. And so he wanted to keep us overnight, but said, you can leave, but just make sure you check back the next day. And the next day we were intending to go back into the ER just to follow up on the salt levels. And he called Tara and said, I really never do this, but did you get back to the ER? And I think her reply was, we're about to go. And he said, you really should do that. And so we went in, and it was like walking off the edge of a cliff, because within about an hour, they had results back that showed his sodium levels had not come back up, which was a huge concern. And then we were on a very expensive ambulance ride up to Dartmouth Hitchcock. And this was a Saturday night when we were met with like 6 physicians. They kind of swarmed us, and 3 days later, we walked out of there with a diagnosis of Addison's disease, which is purely, adrenal insufficiency. So after that, we were treating with hydrocortisone, and life wasn't very different. It was just we were aware of this Addison's condition. And I began to learn more and more about it, and brought up the observation to Tara's sister that Rowan's cousin shared that same very deep, dark tan, hyperpigmentation, as they medically refer to it. And I suggested that she have his cousin tested. And it wasn't until he stood up one day in front of all of us, walked out the door, and passed out and fell straight down on the porch, and until this really started to pick up some steam on the seriousness of getting tested. She literally had to argue with her pediatrician to have a basic test done for cortisol levels. And when they finally allowed it, they found out that he also had adrenal insufficiency. No surprise, not knowing much about it, I said, well, okay, it's really not that bad. Don't worry, And they said, but they're testing for ALD. I said, Rowan doesn't have ALD, so don't get yourself too concerned about that just yet. What I didn't really know is the probability of both boys having an autoimmune caused adrenal insufficiency was like less than 0. But on the other hand, it'd be like a 50-50 chance if it were a different cause like ALD. So through the course of that week, I was trying to assure my sister-in-law and brother-in-law that things were going to be okay and don't worry about it. And then we got the call, which is tough to even talk about because it was like a bomb dropped, and that's how we found out, so we got 4 diagnoses in one day. It's Rowan, his cousin, my sister-in-law, and Tara all together. And that was in August, this past August. August was a rotten month.
Rough month, yes.
I was like,
Yeah.
So
it was a few years though, 2023.
Yeah, not even right. So
No.
August, this is just since August, and so like 6 months, and it's the craziest thing to go from like living like there's nothing that's ever gonna go wrong in your life to just this. It's an incredibly heavy weight, and to compound matters, Rowan for the first time had gotten into this very cool New Hampshire lakeside camp up in on Lake Winnipesaukee. And so we got this diagnosis, and then he had to start camp like a week later for 2 weeks with no phone, no way to communicate with us. So, and this is so important to him. So I don't know if you want to talk about that, but it was
tell us about the camp. And how did y'all talk about the diagnosis? First of all, I think that's a common theme among the people we've chatted with is like, how do we talk to our kids about this? Like, how did those conversations
well, he was
go?
there,
And then,
it was really frustrating for us because, how do you get from adrenal insufficiency to ALD? And we went in for genetic testing, and I still was living in this world where I was like, well, he doesn't have ALD. There's been a mistake. And because we had met several times with our endocrinologist following his first diagnosis of Addison's, and we asked all those questions. We said, how do we know it's not ALD? And I remember leaving the very first meeting, walked out the door, and I said, Tara, why am I not 100% comfortable with the answer that I got? And she's like, I don't know. And so we armed ourselves with some knowledge, went back in, and 3 weeks later, I went through like, I don't know, at least a dozen questions. And the answer was, well, we did this testing for very long chain fatty acids, and that came back normal. So there's no need to do genetic testing. It's 99% effective. Well, fast forward to the genetic testing following his cousin's diagnosis. The genetic counselor was absolutely livid because we were like, this just can't be. And she said, well, there's no note in here about a very long chain fatty acid test. It's like, how is that possible? We were told repeatedly there had been a test and that it was normal. And that, so now we're sitting in this office. Not only do we need to have Rowan tested, and understanding the research at that point, well, he pretty much has ALD, there's like, almost guarantee. Not only that, we had to have Charlie tested, and his test results were lost. And so I think it was a full month where, as a family, we like, how do we talk about it? We basically were frozen in fear. I mean, there's no better way to explain it. Particularly when Rowan was away at camp, I found myself trying to immerse in projects so that I could just get my mind off of it. And at one point, I was in a wood shop, and I stopped my work, and I realized that I had said the word adrenoleukodystrophy in my head over and over and over and over hundreds of times to myself in the quiet. And I was driving myself crazy with fear. And because if you read about it, it's like, I mean, you just don't want to go out and read about it without the support system that we now have, and meeting people like Ken, and, you know, understanding a lot more about it. It's absolutely terrifying. So it was really hard to talk about.
That was going to be my guess. If you immersed yourself in the Google and you still took it in, but I mean, it's hard to continue to take it in and then live. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can relate to that sort of repeating the word. It was like I was learning this language. I kept saying ALD. I didn't want to, you know, I wanted to not be AD. I wanted to get it right. I wanted to pronounce it right. And I kept saying like very long fatty acids. You know, all the words kind of a variant, like all mutation, all these things were going through my head at the time. And I call it the diagnosis funk, where you're just like in this, like, it's like these waves of like numbness, spiraling, sadness, grief, you know, all of these emotions. So I can appreciate what you're talking about there.
And sometimes I get frustrated with myself about how long it's taken me to gain whatever I know now. And tomorrow I will learn something different, and I'll be like, how did I not know that? But I've got to go back to the fact it's a pretty complicated disease that shows up in a lot of different ways. So, you know, it's hard to learn.
You're gonna have to give yourself grace, for sure.
I try to.
Grace. Yeah. So going back to Rowan and the camp, tell us a little bit about the camp. I want to hear more.
Well, it's called Camp Belknap, and it's a really cool camp. I think there's about 400 kids that go there. They have like different divisions, which is starting from cadets, which are, I think, 9 to 10-year-olds, and then there's juniors, which is 10 to 11. They do kind of mix ages sometimes, so some people get moved down, some people get moved up, and then after that it goes middlers, which is like your 11 and 12-year-olds, and then Bessers, which is around 13 to 14, and then you have seniors, which is 15 to 16. So
you started as a what? I
started as a Besser because I was 14 that summer, and they at their whole kind of, what would I call it? A campus kind of.
Yeah, it's like the campus. Yeah.
Yeah, they have it's very large. They have divisions for each. They have like cabins for each division. So there's 6 cabins in each, and they're all kind of separated away from each other. So and they're all surrounded. So, and they have a fireplace in the middle of them. So it's sort of like your own little community, which is really, really cool. They have a really big mess hall, and everybody comes together at breakfast, lunch, and dinner to eat.
Lots of tradition.
Yeah, there's a lot of traditions there. It's super cool.
Yeah.
The difference from other kids. The difference from other kids for me was since I have adrenal insufficiency, I had to go down at the mornings and at 2:30 and at nighttime to take my cortisol. But there were other kids with stuff like that, so I wasn't really alone. They have a like a little medical office there, and people went down there at night a lot, so I didn't feel too out of place when I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really important. So there was a nurse, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Who administered the meds. That's great. And was it boys? Was it an all boys kind of thing?
Yeah, it's an all boys camp, yeah.
Nice. And what were some of the activities that you did?
Well,
it's right along the waters.
Yeah, it's right along the waters on the coast, so they have some water activities. This is kind of contributing to how the day goes, but you'd wake up and they have their reveille. So you'd hear that when you wake up, and they basically blast music That's the first thing that you hear. And they're like, get up, make your beds. And you get up, and then everybody kind of sits out on this little bench in front of your cabin. And then you all brush your teeth, wash up, and then you go to breakfast. Eat breakfast, and then after that, you have your sign-ups. So there's different trees with like these plaques on them with all the different activities, and there'll be a leader there that will help you sign up. So they'll probably have like a clipboard, and you'll go up to them, and they'll say like, "Oh, we'll do sailing for block 4 or whatever, for period 4," and you'd go over there, you sign up for that, and then you have to have your schedule. So you'd kind of, I can't really remember how it went, but you'd have like 2 periods, and then you'd go to lunch, and then you'd have 2 more, and then that's how the day goes. But you'd sign up for different activities. So they had like sailing. They even have their own games. Like one of them is called Bijou, and it's basically you have a volleyball, and it's on a soccer field, and they have the soccer goals, but you kind of use your hands, and you only get like a certain amount of like steps you can go or whatever, and then you have to pass to somebody else. But you have to score outside of the crease, which is like a pretty big line around the soccer goal. So those were pretty fun games. They have also like football, they have soccer, most sports. They have archery too. I didn't do archery, but they have sailing, which we are a boating family and we sail. So I decided to do that a lot. But yeah, they have a lot of activities to choose from. So every day was
Swimming.
full, and swimming too.
Tons of swimming.
Yeah, that sounds like a blast. Wow.
So it was really fun.
And are you planning on going this summer as well?
Yeah.
Nice.
You'll do it again? So it's a good experience.
Yeah.
So you get this diagnosis, you go off to camp. You're having a blast, it sounds like. You had a blast.
Basically.
He was.
And
Understatement.
parents are, and you can't, no cell phones, right? So you can't call home. No. Did you write letters, I hope?
Yeah.
One.
No letters?
One.
I think I might have written more than that.
Was there like a Parents' Day or anything?
Well,
you didn't have time, it sounds like. It was
we did have time. After lunch, there's a thing called siesta, which it's like a little cool down time after your first periods and after lunch, where you can basically do anything as long as you're not making noise. So people draw, they write letters to their parents and other people. They just kind of hang out. I remember there's these things called hammock cities, where in the little divisions they have a bunch of hammocks that are on trees, like all next to each other, like even like double-deckered like hammocks, and everybody would hang out there and just like talk quietly, and it was really fun. So
That's cool.
Yeah, it
Sounds
was like
amazing.
It was the best 2 weeks of his life and probably the worst 2 weeks of mine.
Well, I was going to ask if there was an adult version of this camp, first of all, because that sounds like amazing. But seriously, I'm glad you had such a great time. So yeah, back at the ranch, back home for you all, you get this diagnosis. You're probably talking to your sister, right, Tara, and her family about their diagnosis. How did you sort of team up with them to, kind of understand and sort of make your way through this?
I think it was really just shock and awe. So I really don't know how to describe it. You of course Google everything, and then you go through all the feels, and then you get to a point where you say, what are we going to do about it? And then there's this huge part of it where the boys are at ages where you really need to respect their privacy as well. And there is to be completely transparent, we've walked a fine line of wanting to advocate, but also wanting to protect their privacy as well.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
it's something we're working as a family, and they are working amongst themselves as a family as well. And we've also work together, but we also know that we're on different paths and journeys, and there's different ways that each and every one of us are going to react to it, or if that makes sense. Like,
That makes
our journeys are different.
perfect sense. Yeah, definitely.
And we respect that
And
and value that.
I love that. Yeah. And are there other family members who you had to communicate with to get tested, or
No,
did it sort of
I mean,
include you all?
no, the short answer is no.
Well, her mom clearly carries AMN, but she's
Well,
now
no, that's not exactly true. We
81.
don't know. My father's deceased, so we actually don't know where it's coming down
Okay.
the line. So we're assuming it is our mother.
Yeah.
But she's well
Yeah,
in her
I
age.
had to do that too in my family. Yeah, so she didn't get tested. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So there were
Okay,
there were
so-
certain things that started to make more sense, at least on my end, for as far as symptoms that I have been feeling, and for the past, I would say 3 to 5 years, and no one could really put a real title on things. I've been tested for certain things. Of course, I'm in that stage of my life where they chalked it up to being hormonal. However, certain things just started to click for me as I started to read about things a little bit more. And then I wouldn't say that it alleviated some of my thought process on what things that I personally deal with, but it certainly helped to maybe just put an answer to it. And then they might not be all concrete and pointing towards AMN or being an ALD carrier, but it certainly will help that I'm not going down the paths of all these other testing, all this other stuff, if it points to
Right.
certain symptoms that
Yeah,
now I have learned to understand that female carriers have had and are challenged with.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And we've heard that from other women. I have felt that myself with having some symptoms. I was like, oh, my sister and I were talking about it. She does not have ALD, but she's like, well, that's why this is happening. That's why you have this experience, and it doesn't take away the symptoms or make my son's situation better, but it gives you sort of a little answer to some of the questions around your own health. So, yeah, I think that's important and motivating and thinking about studies for women with ALD for sure.
For sure. Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I was just going to conclude that while it's a very new diagnosis for both of our families, we are navigating through all of that being so new, and the cousins are at different ages and different stages in their lives. And we've chosen different paths on certain things, like what we do and allow for activities, because Rowan is much younger than his cousin, and he might still be in that window for cerebral. So there's certain things that we've just decided that this is our path, that's your path, but we are collaborating together and we're advocating, and we're on the same, we have the same goal to fundraise and find research and eventually find a cure or medications that will help alleviate symptoms.
Love it. Yes.
So Rowan goes to camp. You all
Yep.
are home. What did you determine were next steps? Obviously, we know about the monitoring for cerebral ALD. Did you look into, which hospitals you were going to go to,
Yeah.
thinking about appointments for him? How did that, happen?
Right. We did some research, and I think the first time I heard the name Dr. Eichler was from my sister-in-law. Tara's sister may have said something to the effect that this seems to be the worldwide expert. And to be fair. I think Rowan's cousin was a little far ahead in the beginning in terms of just getting to the right experts. So we scheduled our visit with MGH, and we were dealing with all sorts of insurance stuff. And eventually, we got down to actually Dartmouth Hitchcock to do the MRI, which was not what we wanted to have happen, but it just was a matter of how quickly can we get an accurate MRI done. So I think what happened was Dr. Eichler ordered the type of MRI, and then Dartmouth Hitchcock did it, and then Dr. Eichler reviewed it. So once we got the clear MRI results back, it was probably a moment of relief, just this cathartic like exhale of like, okay, we didn't miss the boat on that. And you can only imagine where I feel like we're technically misdiagnosed. It was just, there was a lot of anger up till that moment of like, I could have been doing something about this. And I guess after getting the MRI results back and it being clear, I reasoned that there's nothing different we would have done. So it allowed me to clear a lot of anger towards people that just simply made mistakes, and it's hard to give them a hall pass on that kind of a mistake, but you move on and you deal with what you've got and try to figure out how to make a difference, really.
But we had seen Dr. Eichler and his team.
Yeah.
We went down to the appointment. They would have preferred that the MRI would have preceded that appointment, but it did not because of some insurance. So we met with that team. We felt more comfortable walking out of that appointment, and then the MRI was scheduled maybe for 3 or 4 weeks after that. So we were still in that area where waiting for that to happen. And that was where the anxiety just really kind of just like built up. But then as soon as we received the MRI and the clear, they brought in specialists and read two texts, right? His MRI right there. So we left knowing that he had a clear scan.
Right. So for all the mistakes that were made at Dartmouth Hitchcock by just really one person, they followed up with like the red carpet, like prioritized everything. And the neurologist came in and actually put all of the images up in front of us and explained what he was seeing. And though he said he was not a expert on reading the brain MRIs, he gave us his take. He said, I see nothing abnormal here. And so that was, again, it was just a nice moment to finally reset and say, okay, now that we're on safe ground for now, what do we do?
Yeah.
And I feel terrible for, the people I've met who have 2-year-olds or 5-year-olds. It's just I empathize, like I can feel it, like just how hard that might be, not knowing, what is going to happen. And so I feel lucky in that way, grateful that we made it through that whole period without even knowing. So we're oblivious to all that stress, and I don't take it for granted. I feel lucky, and I want to do whatever I can to help people make it through that period of time, because it's going to be hard.
Yeah. I would say I felt literally weird looking back at childhood cerebral ALD and like, oh, I'm here. Why did that happen? It was almost like a survivor's guilt, like a weird survivor's guilt. Like, I'm blessed, but why me? Why did they not pick me? Like, this disease obviously is way more than that. But
yeah, I can appreciate that.
Yeah. It's tricky. And like Tara mentioned before, even in your own family, you're walking your own journeys, right? So each family is walking their own journeys with struggles, with perspective on things. So I really appreciate the perspective you all have about, gratitude and feeling like, man, there were a lot of hiccups along the way, a ton of hiccups. And, some people say, all is well that ends well, right? Or water under the bridge, or however you kind of manage that anger about what happened. And it sounds like, to me, what I'm hearing is you have gratitude. You're managing things even though it's still kind of fresh, but you want to do something about it as well. So tell us about like your thoughts and ideas kind of about putting what I call your passion to purpose.
Yeah, sure. I can talk about that. Another thing that I have grown to feel very grateful for is my career. And my career began in recruitment back in 1995, or I guess it was 1995. It's a long time ago, in high tech. And in the company I worked, I met someone whose daughter had been diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. And I began helping that person, who's a friend of mine to this day. I began helping them fundraise, and the idea came up that we could essentially pivot all of our efforts from high tech and create a recruitment company that focused on biotech and try to get involved with companies that were making a difference for cystic fibrosis. And so I'm very grateful that happened, because in retrospect, it was a training ground for what I would have to do later in life. And the story with CF is significant because local companies produced therapies that have changed his daughter's life. So 2 years after we sold our company, in 2019, his daughter began therapy on a drug called Trikafta, and that was made by Vertex Pharmaceuticals right in Boston. And Trikafta has taken her whole trajectory of the disease and changed it from one where I think her lung function was in the 60 percentile range, and now it's up into the high 90s. She's a bright, healthy, young, beautiful lady who is, she was married in September. And that's something that I won't tell you verbatim, but, you know, as a parent, I would have conversations with my former business partner about whether that would ever happen. To see that happen for her gives me so much hope that biotech has an answer for ALD as well. And in November, when we went to, if it weren't weird enough, right, that this fellow and I who started this company both end up with children with very rare diseases, that alone right there is like, it starts to make you question what's going on. But in November, when we were at the ALD Connect meeting, I was given a paper, and the paper discussed testing this drug to lower very long chain fatty acids in ALD. And this drug is Trikafta. And I was like, what? How is it that
Give me the Trikafta?
It's right. I
I'll
mean,
be a
it's
guinea
like,
pig.
and they were showing results in the lab, and I'm like, what is going on here? So CF and ALD are nothing alike. They're not even a similar disease state, but it turns out that the gene ABCC77 is the CF gene, and ABCD1, as we all have repeated in our head a million times, is the ALD gene. And that ABC part of the designation puts them in the same gene superfamily. And so it is opening a window for treatment that really kind of blows my mind. And that whole story just, again, it happened once, and I feel like we can do it again. I feel like the power of science can fix this for us. And I know, because in my heart, if people ask me how I feel about ALD, I'm like, I know we're going to do it. I just want to get there faster, so.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And yeah, I like how you said it was like a training ground for you. So like, what are you thinking? Are you going to start a new company? I know that you're kind of on the circuit. You're talking to a lot of people right now. But do you have any hopes and dreams?
Yeah. So, well, I did start a new company when Rowan was diagnosed with Addison's disease. I'd had an itch to get back into something professional, just to be a way of stimulating my mind. And I always found when I changed from high tech to biotech, I started to define my business differently. If someone said, what do you do? I said, I'm in biotech. And the reason I didn't say I was in recruitment is because once I got into biotech and I met the people there, I knew that I would never do what I did for any other industry. So what I did when Rowan was diagnosed, I started networking back with people that I previously worked with, and went down and talked to one guy about getting part of the team back together, and we created Gene Pool Networks, and it's executive search and consulting placement, and it's given me this pathway into back into talking to people, and I'm blown away by how helpful everybody's been. I can tell the story quickly in a text to someone I've known, like a founder of Third Rock Ventures, and that very quickly led to a meeting which put me in touch with another founder of many companies, particularly in RNA therapeutics, which I'm very interested in for modulating level 1, which is the enzyme that transports these VLCFAs into the peroxisome. And also the founder of Vertex and I are meeting on Wednesday in his home. He wanted to know if I was a coffee or a tea person. So this is the type of reception that you get from people in biotech when you tell them that you want help solving a problem. And I couldn't be any more grateful that I'm in this spot where I have a perspective of seeing a company essentially cure a disease, and to have it so kind of closely related in the way that they might go about doing that. I feel like I've got a very solid place in this equation that is going to help us get there.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
And so coffee or tea, which are you?
Well, interestingly, I just started drinking green tea. I'm prepared to do either. So someone's going to give me their time like that, I'll drink whatever they serve me.
Right? That's awesome. I love it. Well, we look forward to hearing more about it.
Yeah.
And thinking about, I love how you're networking and things, thinking about all of the emotions that come up with the diagnosis, the sort of waves of different feelings. Who are some of the people on your support team that you all go to when you're having a bad day or when you get good news about something? I'm just curious, like, for each of you, and Rowan, do you have friends that you talk to about this, or do you kind of keep it to yourself?
I'd say that I keep it more to myself. Like, my friends know about it because I've told them, and like they know about it because I've told them. But if they didn't know, then, and I didn't tell them, then I don't think that they would really notice anything wrong, because I'm pretty lucky that nothing has happened that really changes my everyday life too much that anybody notices. So even if so I have told them, but it's nothing that I go to them to like tell them about like every day or anything like that. It's more something about my parents.
Yeah. And let me just ask this, your parents are thinking about it quite a bit, but on a daily basis, are you thinking about it quite a bit, or are you just really busy going to high school and doing your thing?
I mean, honestly, I take my medication at 2:30 at school, but other than that, I don't really think about it any other time of the day. Like I said, I'm pretty lucky that nothing has been affected too much with my everyday life. So, no, if I'm doing something and I'm busy, I really don't think about it now.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing. Thanks. And parents, what do you think? Who are your support systems in all of this? Each other, obviously.
Each other, obviously, and I think immediate family. And a small circle of friends. But again, we're navigating through, it's very new diagnosis, and we're navigating through all of what Rowan's wishes are and our advocacy and how wide of a circle that we have. Like, it's just that real fine line. We want to be out there, and we will, because of the work that Rob, but within our community, we've dabbled in it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I think it's it is something that people have never heard anything about. They ask you to explain it, or they ask you the first, what did you just say? Like, say it again, or can you spell it? That type of thing. And so there's that real educational platform that you talk about. Then you have to talk about the cerebral part, and then the AMN part. So I think that people
It's hard to explain.
are very overwhelmed. They get the information, they don't really know what to do with it.
Yeah.
So we're at that point in our lives with our friend and their social group, and then Rob's advocacy has probably, would you say, is more far reached and
Yeah, I mean,
further along on that.
Sure. My support group consists of our close family. My brother-in-law and I talk a fair amount about things. My former business partner, who's, although Kate's much healthier, I mean, it's still very much part of their lives. Cystic fibrosis is, and he knows firsthand what it's all about. So, and I'm more of an open book. Like, I was just at the supermarket the other day, and someone that I haven't really talked to on a personal level very much said, how's everything going? And I just can't BS my way around it. I'm like, well, we've got a lot of really great things in our life, and a couple that aren't so good. And if they're interested to know, I'll tell them exactly what's going on. And so that's a bit of a support system for me, in that, I don't know, I get to kind of talk about it a little bit, and people, everyone offers help. I'd say it's crazy to me. Like, I haven't talked to anybody about it at the level I just spoke about who hasn't said, well, tell me when you get going on, wherever you think you're going to make the biggest impact after you get settled with this, and I'm in. So that's really heartwarming. And on the other hand, there are a lot of people I deal with on a regular basis, and they don't ask about it. And I have to remember how hard it was for me to ask my former business partner, like, how's everything going? And I just trained myself. And I do remember now, I look back, you'd always say, thank you very much for asking me that. But you're almost afraid that maybe you're going to open up a tough conversation. And so I give grace to people when they, maybe they just don't want to make it part of every day, and that's fine. It's part of my every day, but it doesn't have to be everybody's day.
Right.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think sharing stories is part of the healing process as well. I think, and that can be sharing your story publicly. I mean, I remember the first time I shared our story publicly, I was like, now I can just send people to that webinar to watch it, like when they ask about it, because it is a hard disease to explain. It's complicated, and there's a lot of language pieces, and to sort of make it less scientific for lay people to understand. But I do think there is something on whatever level, if you're just talking to a friend or a teammate or a classmate or your neighbor about it, it can be healing to share. And then I love what you said just about not having those expectations about people asking about it going forward, because you really can't expect that of other people. But I appreciate that perspective. Yeah. So Ken has a really important question to ask. Go for it.
Okay, I would say this goes for all three of you. If you could live one day without ALD, what would you do? You can take 2 days if you need.
First.
This is kind of hard to think about. I've said this twice now, but I am fortunate that really the only thing that ALD has affected my everyday life is my diet, because since the VLCFA levels have been linked or just related to how you eat and the type of food you eat. We've cut out saturated fat from my diet completely, and that has included a lot of the stuff that I really enjoy.
So long pizza, so long hamburgers, and so long chicken wings.
Basically, I like to cook a lot, so I've also had to adjust that. So I'd probably, if I said that, I'd probably eat something that I haven't like for a long time.
Absolutely.
I really don't know. Maybe I'm not even sure what I would eat. Actually, I'd probably. We used to go to this place called the Bratskiller a lot. We used to get buffalo wings there, so maybe that. We used to go to this other place called Locos Cocos, and they had like a California burrito, which is like steak, cheese, and French fries. So that's off the list basically for a long time. So I'd probably maybe get one of those. But yeah, I'd say that since my diet has been affected, I'd probably treat myself to something like that.
So for a full day, though, you could just go one after the other. Just make
all day, all 3 meals.
Oh yeah, all day. Yeah, all 3 meals, of course.
Yeah,
love it.
I'm trying to
Tara,
stick
what
with
about
them on
for
this
you?
this dietary change, and I can tell you firsthand, it's
wow.
not easy. It's just awful.
I'd say my biggest
Come on,
disappointment is not being able to
trifecta.
eat cheese. I really like cheese, but I can't have it anymore. So
You're not eating cheese anymore. What is the name of the drug? Trikafta.
Yeah,
Maybe if we could get some Trikafta to cut down
yeah.
the levels
Yeah,
of our
to-
very long cheating.
To clarify it, I don't think Trikafta is ever going to be approved for ALD, but some derivative of, or even if it's a proof of concept and they change the chemical composition, it's interesting to see that. I mean, maybe it would be. This is probably the challenge in drug discovery. It takes so long, and then in the research phase, and then the commercial part of it is so expensive. It'd be great if Trikafta would just work. That would be more of a miracle than anything.
We're going to continue your answers, but going on the cheese, though, is where you say that, because cheese has become a thing that my endocrinologist, he recommends, because with hydrocortisone and the extended use of hydrocortisone, it affects your bone health. So then he's all pro cheese and caltrate. And so I'm like, this whole thing is a double-edged sword. Like, you do one
Right.
thing, you help another thing, and then it's just like, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
You're right about that, Ken.
I've tried to
Interesting.
find like fat-free cheese, but it's not the same, because the thing that makes cheese taste so good is just the fat. So if I wanted something calcium, I'd probably drink some skim milk. But yeah, I mean, dairy products that are fatty are also off the chart.
Yeah, and we're actually doing this. We discussed that we're not sure if this actually moves the needle at all, right? But it's just one way of kind of convincing ourselves that we're doing something. I think it could make a difference, and I'd feel a little bit worried if we weren't doing something like that,
Yeah, proactive. That's cool.
Yeah, and I feel like with so much that in this disease, it's out of our control. It's like when you have something you can control, like it feels productive. It feels like, okay, I'm taking control of my own health. And like generally, those things that you're talking about, I mean, the burrito, that sounds really good. But I feel like taking those things off the table is good for your general health anyway, right? Never mind.
Yeah, my dad has spoken about that a lot.
Yeah, it's like we weren't supposed to be eating all this garbage anyway, so it's like,
Exactly. But how about Tara? What would you do one day without ALD?
For me, well, like Rowan has said, that we are very fortunate that he does not have many symptoms right now. He's not showing any symptoms, and I hope that that's the case for him for a very long time.
Yeah.
Mine are manageable. I guess I'm always a firm believer that what things are thrown at you because you can handle them, and it only has made us stronger, and it's really helped me understand that there's people who are dealing with things that you have no idea about what they're dealing with every single day. Like, people carry around a lot of luggage, and just because they're not open about it, people are challenged with a lot of things. So it's made me understand, have a little bit more empathy and compassion about how people maybe talk to each other, or how people react to things, because they're carrying around some stuff. So for me, it's helped me maybe understand, like, and relate to people a little bit better.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. That's
Yeah.
really so
It's really
beautiful.
true. And I'll tell you the other thing, it kind of goes opposite to what you just asked, because for us, it's, it's not a physical limitation yet, but because of that, like, if anything, we are going like full throttle on life, like extending a vacation or doing something as a family that we were like, oh, we'll do that someday. We're like, no, we're doing this now. And so in a way, for us, we have this window, and we hope that we can extend the window to forever. But we've got this window where, when there aren't any symptoms, you realize how lucky you are that you can do things, and all the reasons that you come up with for doing it next year start to go away. It's like, so we've done a lot of fun things in the last year, really, in 6 months even, that we might have chosen not to, just experience types of things,
Yeah.
It's a good reminder to live in the moment, and to make, like you say, Ken, make every day your very best day.
Absolutely. And
So I guess, it's a little convoluted, my answer, but in a way that it's a little bit of a gift.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Just not a gift, but all right, we'll cut that out.
I want to
What do
say
I wanna
something
say?
next. So we can cut all of this out, but I want to say something next. So
Go ahead.
All right, let's hear
So-
it. Everyone.
So what I would say is, I want to, like my dad said, that I want to like experience stuff that like now, instead of like waiting. Me and my friends, we go camping in the summer, and I want to do that a lot more. And I want to, in the summer, I just like really want to just like do stuff. And it kind of makes me sad that we live in New Hampshire, where there's like snowstorms all the time, and we're all snowed in, and we can't really do anything. So I guess I'm just gonna say, I'd probably in the summer just like do as much as I can outside with my friends, and just like experience the most.
Absolutely. And yeah. Still, you got the right idea though, to do it now. Live it up, because no one ever knows what the future brings, but live in the day, in the moment, and it's all we can do.
Yeah, you're right, Ken. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, no one knows. So it wakes you up to that fact, though, because I think it's easy in life to get to this state where you're just like, days sort of blend together, and you just sort of take for granted that you've got a day, really highlights that. So
Yeah.
Definitely. And I know you all are still newly diagnosed just a few months ago, really. But what advice would you give to other families who were just diagnosed, either through the newborn screen, or they found out through the way that you did with a child or family member who had adrenal insufficiency?
Take a deep breath and take all the information just not one day at a time, but just like slowly educate yourself, and then really get with the experts and get your appointments. Reach out to ALD Connect, go to the conferences. The conference this past November really opened up my eye. I really loved that I got to see and meet people like Ken, patients and family members and support givers, as well as the medical teams throughout all over the world. So it was really an eye opener, and it was very educational for me. So really become involved, I would say.
Yeah. I would say to someone, get involved. My former business partner, one of the first things he said, stop. Don't catastrophize this situation. He says, are you here today? Are you okay today? And I'm like, mm-hmm. Is Rowan okay today? He's like, mm-hmm. It's like, okay. Then stop catastrophizing that the worst is going to happen, and educate yourself on what you can do about it. So it's probably what I would pass along as being the most meaningful thing. That I'll find myself doing that from time to time, and I'll go back to those words that were very powerful words to me at the time.
And I was going to throw in as far as the inspiration, seeing what's out there. I mean, this episode was posted yesterday, but Ted Buckner, he has AMN. He's 64, and he's just living his best life. And it's like, and to put an age on any of this, and you see that. So there's a lot of hope out there. It is definitely not all doom and gloom. So
that's right. And that's for me. Like, if I go to bed and I think, what did I do today? And then I get up the next morning and I say, what am I going to do today to make my, to make this a better situation? And as long as I can check at least something small off, then, even if that means today we chose not to think about it and we just had fun, that's part of the equation, so.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. Well, thank you, Patten family, so much for being with us this afternoon. Yeah. And as our listeners know, our goal with ALD No Limits is, yes, we're so lucky. We're so lucky to have you here. Just to reiterate, our goal with ALD No Limits is pretty simple. It's to connect, to empower, and to shine light on the voices in the ALD community. So thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, share this episode with others who might need it, and stay connected with us.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.